NFL season is back. We're going to get into the Cincinnati Bengals versus that team up north, the one that you got to flush down when it's brown. Coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast. Coming up on the Wincinnati podcast.
Hello, world. Wincinnati. You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. Welcome to the regular season. I am Ace. He is Zim. Zim, how you doing over there? You got some white headphones this time, huh?
Yeah, these. I thought I wore these one time before. That one time.
I think you
Okay,
did.
yeah.
You acting different. You got a whole new season energy with the headphones and the wireless headphones.
I'm trying to see, do I even like it? It is very weird because they're noise canceling, so it's like I could barely even hear myself talk. I don't know if you guys are used to that in the podcast world, but it is an adjustment for me. But the Bengals regular season is here, and I'm ready to get it on. As people know, I tell people online, you got to line it up with us. There's a lot of people out here that still want to talk about, oh, my front office didn't do this. They didn't give me a back rub. They didn't do this, and they didn't do that. And now, guess what? Now it's time to play football. So all that other stuff, cool all season. We're ready to get into it. I feel really, really excited about it. How are you feeling about the season? Like in general, what's your energy level?
Bro, I'm ready. I've been waiting for this season to get here. You know, obviously we had a lot of stressful stuff in the offseason that was resolved. So we're not heading into this season still talking about offseason narratives. Deals are done, right? Like we spent that. It seemed like just yesterday we were like, bro, are we gonna have to talk about Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins, and Jamar again? Like, is it? We don't have to talk about that, bro. We could talk about what the Bengals are gonna do and how they're gonna get off to a fast start this season. That's the only other narrative left, and I feel like now the Bengals have been presented this opportunity with them having the Browns week 1, having a Jacksonville week 2. I mean, what can you say? Like, you got to be excited for that. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm ready to see Thursday night football just to see how things are going around the league. But, 1:00 Sunday, you already know what time it is. Like, I'm ready to see Burrow and Chase. I'm ready to see T. Higgins. I'm ready to see what the defense is looking like. I'm ready to see Joe Flacco look like you already know what, like a Cleveland Brown. We'll just leave it like that. So I'm excited, bro. What about you?
I'm really excited. That was my next question. I was going to ask you, what specifically are you looking forward to the most out of everything on this roster on Sunday?
Yeah. Is it cliche to say the offense? Like, I know everybody wants to see the defense and all of it, but I want to see the offense. I want to see, like, when is Noah Fant going to be on the field? Is Jermaine Burton going to be on the field? Like, that's how deep I'm going with it. Like, Yoshi, what kind of snaps is Yoshi getting from that standpoint? Like, how are teams going to be able to stop this? Because this is a good Cleveland Browns defense, but bro, this is one of the most elite offenses in the NFL. Like, how is Chase Brown going to be used? There's so many things, but to me, it revolves around the offense for me. Like, what is the offense going to look like? Because I doubt that they're coming out like if you're a Browns fan and you're watching this and you're like, oh, the Bengals get off the slow start. Just look at last year. Like, that's not happening week 1, bro. It's not. To me, I don't get the energy that this is going to be a New England Patriots type appearance for this team. I just can't see that, bro. I don't see that. And if you're hanging your hat on that, you're going to be disappointed.
I feel like that's such a narrative that gets overblown. I think I saw Dan Orlovsky or somebody point out the beginning of the season woes, but I thought that they left out a lot of context. Like when you're saying that, generally is Joe Burrow coming off of appendectomy? Is Joe Burrow coming off a wrist injury? Is Joe Burrow coming off of ACL rehab? for the first time, I don't really feel like none of that's an excuse. Even last year, as Bengal fans, I think we get away from the whole Jamar Chase wasn't at any practices, and then T. Higgins goes out like 48 hours before the game is about to start after they created a whole game plan for T. Higgins in that game to feature him because he was, you know what I mean? There's so many small details that get left out of that, and the offense was terrible. One thing that I'm going to say is in the Browns, as bad as we talk about the defense, and I talk to you about this a lot, as bad as the Bengals defense was last year, there were games that you could point to where I think we all collectively were waiting for the Bengals offense to go crazy on somebody. But the Browns game, the Chiefs game, the Patriots game, Giants game, there are a bunch of games in that season where the offense really wasn't really going that crazy or playing well at all. And one of the games that stood out to me, well, I thought it was a defensive game that won us the game. If you go back and look at that, Joe Burrow was not looking that great in that game. And I thought it was against the Browns. And I think I share the sentiment with you. I'm looking for offensive explosion. Our good friend of the show, Santino, shout out to him. He's about to drop a new song on Friday, so make sure y'all check that out. Santino Corleone, go check him out. But he had a tweet where he was saying the first 3 and out, it might have been him or Hacha. He was like, if the Bengals come out in the beginning of the season and go 3 and out, I'm gonna be so pissed. And he's right. He is right, bro. Like the Bengals could win this game, but I think we all will start off just thinking like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, opposed to them at least just moving the ball, and then we walk out of there, like get a field goal, like, and you're like, all right, bet we moving the ball. Like even in the Eagles game, we were moving the ball, like we were moving the ball, like, and you didn't feel like defeated. I think that would be the disappointment for me. But I'm like you, it's a lot, bro. Noah Fant and Gesicki together, it's like we're so stacked. We're so stacked. Like I think I said that. I was on an AFC North show. I said that, and one of the dudes on the show was like, "Oh," like I saw his eyes. He was like, "Yeah." Like if those two dudes was on another team right now, I think it would get a lot more press than what it's getting for us.
Nah, I agree, man. I'm so interested to see what they end up doing because Eric All was a guy that was a part of the game plan, right? Like they do know how to use multiple tight ends. You can use Gesicki in the slot, which the Bengals do, or detached. So for me, I think it's just going to be too much for the Browns, but let's get into that. So week 1, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. The Bengals are traveling to Cleveland. Right now, the Vegas has the odds with the Bengals being favored by 5, right? So really, that's supposed to be 8, if I'm not mistaken, because they always get a home team, I think 2 or 3 points or something like that. So going into this game, some people are saying, oh, this is a trap game for Cincinnati because all of the pressure is on them. Cleveland has nothing to lose. They have no expectations for the season. I don't buy that, bro. Like at the end of the day, you got to suit up and play football. And if Cleveland were to win this game, and some Cleveland fans that I've heard on your show, some of them think that Joe Flacco could win 10 games. Like I've heard crazy, outlandish things like that being said. I don't buy that this is just a game that the pressure is on Cincy. I think the pressure is on Cleveland. You don't have Deshaun Watson. That didn't work out. You got Joe Flacco. There's pressure from your fan base and from some of these the Shador fan club to play him. So I don't know what the whole pressure is all on Cincinnati. Cincinnati is traveling to Cleveland on the road. I don't think that it's a pressure game for them, but it's a great opportunity for them. And I think Cincinnati has more to prove than Cleveland really has to prove in this game. And to me, I think Cincinnati's got a chip on their shoulder. I think the fact that we've heard all of this talk of the Bengals slow start, we're seeing people say that the Bengals are missing the playoffs. Like we're the ones with Joe Burrow. We're the ones with Jamar Chase. We're the ones that a few years ago were in the AFC Championship, going to Super Bowls, and we're the ones that are the only team to be able to challenge the Chiefs. And you're telling us that we're not going to the playoffs this year? Yeah, week 1, line it up. I think this team has a lot to prove, and I think the fact that they have that chip on their shoulder weighs way more than whatever pressure people think is on the Bengals. And I think right now it just honestly lines up very well for them. They have a clean bill of health. They are, we saw the injury report today. There's nobody on the list. I don't know if people watching the show seen that. There's nobody on the injured list at all whatsoever. So you're talking about a healthy Joe Burrow that got to play in the preseason. Like, if we're talking, like, that's not pressure to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, right? Like, we just saw what LSU did this weekend. They wore the 1-0 shirts. What was Jamar Chase's first tweet, like, right before his first game? It was 1-0. They've always played in high pressure moments. Like, this isn't Cleveland week 1. You think that's pressure? Somebody that went in the Arrowhead on the road and beat, Pat Mahomes and those guys in the AFC Championship. You think that's pressure? You think it was pressure when Joe Burrow had to go and play the Raider? Like, there's a whole lot of situations. Going in as the 1 seed, going against the 1 seed in Tennessee, getting sacked 9 times. Like, Joe Burrow doesn't care about pressure. Like, if that's your thing, like, oh, there's so much pressure that the Bengals had. Like, if that's your strategy, bro, you're not beating this team. I feel like I'm talking to Kansas City when they were like, "Ooh, crowd noise. Crowd noise is gonna get in you guys' head, and you're gonna have all of this pressure." And I'm just not seeing it, bro. Do you think the Bengals feel pressure week 1 to beat the Browns?
Zach Taylor talked about this earlier today, where he was saying he welcomes the pressure, and I appreciated him saying that. Mm-hmm. And I think our fan base, that was one thing that I was saying in the offseason, is like, why are we running away from, like when people ask me, why didn't the Bengals go to playoffs? And I don't really have excuses for it. I'm just like, the Bengals just didn't get it done. If you ask me about 2023, I'd be like, Joe Burrow was hurt. You know what I mean? But that's real and it's valid to me. But the last year, though, there are no excuses for me. And the reason why is because I feel very confident in the quarterback, the wide receivers, the system that's around them. I feel like the pressure should be on us because I think we are who we say we are. I think a lot of people look at us and say, oh, that was just 2021. But then they came back in 2022 and did the same damn thing. I'm not going to go into that AFC Championship game because I almost feel like that was worse than the Super Bowl. But then 2023, when he started getting back to himself, he beat the piss out the 49ers, beat the piss out the Bills, right? So, like, we showed you that we were legit, and then he gets hurt. Then 2024, it's a crazy year. No excuses. Won't ever happen again in my mind, right? If Burrow is healthy, Jamar is healthy, I just do not see this scenario where people are like, yeah, that's a 7-win team. Vegas and all the odds makers and stuff like that, even when they want to go against us, the Bengals still have the 4th highest odds to win the AFC. And think about that. They're never in favor of us. So, like, even them saying that is, like, generous to them. I really feel like the Bengals should be at least the 3rd highest odds, honestly, when you look at what they've done this all season. But that, in a way, it plays into our hand and it plays in our favor. Everybody keeps on talking about that pressure stuff that you're talking about. Oh, the Browns don't got no pressure. It's all on them. I do believe that the Browns do have some pressure. I tried to listen to a Browns podcast earlier. They're sitting around. The guy is telling them about how, we're going to show we're competitive. And then you got people that are saying, well, I'm not buying tickets this season till like they show me, like they have pressure to show that they're an actual real organization. Like they really have that. And they also had a pressure of this quarterback situation that's looming over their head as they're playing Joe Burrow and guys like that. You got a quarterback in Deshaun Watson that you pay all this money to that is not doing anything for you, right? And then you got like 8 other quarterbacks on the roster. And then, by the way, if you win games, then you got Joe Flacco that's now taking reps away from potential guys that could be your quarterback. The pressure is on them to figure out who the hell are they going to have, whereas the Bengals are signed and sealed at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, defensive edge. They've done all these different things that everybody said that they couldn't. The only thing that they really need to do is go out there and go play to their best abilities. Now, that doesn't always work in your favor. You can lose games and everything like that. But I think the media, people that don't know ball, and idiots online have taken a lot of pressure off the Bengals by saying that they're not even a playoff team. So then when the Bengals score like a whole bunch of points and stuff, they're gonna be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like they don't. It's like they totally disregarded our whole all season, and then they talk about our defense, and we'll get into that when we go into the matchups, I guess, shortly. But I'm not saying that they're a top 10 defense, but there are a lot of first and second rounders on this defense. And it's a lot of picks on this defense. Chris Jenkins, Dax Hill, DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt, all of these guys are first and second round picks. And there's not that many teams that can say that because the Bengals solidified everything on offense, right? And so generally you have teams wasting picks, trying to figure out how they're going to get the wide receivers, how they're going to – they didn't have to do that. And the Bengals were able quietly in the last couple of years to just add all this talent on defense. So it's unproven, right? But from a talent standpoint, these are all players that a lot of these guys and a lot of people, pundits, and a lot of ops all wanted. And I just think that now it's just time for guys to play. I really don't feel like there's pressure on the Bengals to do anything because nobody's even picking them to do anything. The way that we see our team isn't like how everybody else is singing the Cincinnati Bengals.
Nah, I completely agree with you, bro. And speaking of completely agreeing with something, we completely agree with fans of Cincy. Make sure that you lock in your upcoming trips this season. They have upcoming trips to Green Bay, Denver. They also have Miami. You can also get tailgate only experiences as well. Head on over to fansofcincy.com. They're going to be able to take care of everything for you, whether it's your travel, whether it's your hotel, whether it's your tickets to the game. They will take all of that. They will take care of all of that for you. So you don't have to do anything. You can sit back, relax, and just pretty much have your game experience on autopilot. They're going to have everything for you at the tailgates. They're going to have some of the best local food there. They're going to have music. They're going to have other Bengals fans. And sometimes they have a whole itinerary planned for you. I think back to when we went with them for the Saints game, they had a whole itinerary. We got to march on Bourbon Street with other Bengals fans. They do cool stuff like that. So make sure that you guys tap in with Fans of Cincy today at fansofcincy.com. If you have any questions, you can also contact them via email. I know a lot of people want more details. Dusko and those guys over there do a great job of getting all of that information for you guys. So definitely check them out at fansofcincy.com and make sure that you book your trips for the upcoming season with fansofcincy.com. All right, bro.
We got a super chat from our guy Bashir right here. He says, Zim, the Browns are using the pressure is on the Bengals theme as a coping mechanism. As Bengal fans, we should ignore the noise and play our game. Don't overthink it. I 1,000% agree with you, Bashir.
1,000% agree, Bash. Like, I mean, the pressure is on the Bengals. Like, bro, the pressure better be coming from Myles Garrett, or else we about to run you off the field. Like, if you got to depend on that, like a mental thing, like this isn't the Bengals of old. This isn't the Andy Dalton era where it's like, oh, when we're playing the Steelers, we're going to get on our own head. Like, bro, those days are over and done with, like, especially with Joe Burrow and this team. I think you clearly see that they wanted to take this offseason very serious. I mean, they wanted to, and I think that they accomplished that. Like, they didn't want to be too physical to the point where they put themselves at risk for injury, but they also wanted to play the starters. They were able to do that. We're sitting here week 1, no injuries right now, clean bill of health. All we got to do is line it up. There's no pressure on us, bro. Like, the pressure, like, if Joe Flacco go out there and throw 2 picks, who do you think the pressure is going to be on? They are going to be clamoring for Shedeur Sanders or whoever to come in that game. Like, there's no pressure.
What a mess.
Yeah, that's a mess. That's a mess over there.
So with that being said, let's get into the matchup. Let's talk about where do you feel as though the Browns can have, what are the pros in the Browns game this upcoming Sunday? Offense or defense? Are there any things that you feel as though the Browns can exploit?
I think if there's anything that they can exploit that I'm thinking about that could be a weakness for the Bengals, I think that is possibly the run game, right? Like, and that's a thing that we have to see because we haven't gotten to see much of TJ Slayton. The stuff that the small sample size that we saw throughout the preseason, the run defense didn't look good. So if there is something that I think Cleveland is going to try to do, Kevin Stefanski is going to try to do, it's run the ball. Now, last year, they actually passed the ball just as much as the Bengals. Like not as much, but pretty damn close. Like, and this is a team that historically has run the ball. It didn't work for them. They want to go back to that identity of what Kevin Stefanski does, and that is running the ball. But it looks a little different when you don't have Nick Chubb back there, a fully healthy Nick Chubb. Like Jerome Ford, I'm not losing sleep over Jerome Ford, like respectfully. Like he's not one of these top tier running backs. But I think for them, that's an advantage that they have. I think when it comes to the defense, they have the advantage of having that secondary. Right now, they have injuries in the secondary, but they do have a guy in Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome that can somewhat line up against the guys that we have. And then you talk about the safety position where they have Delpit as well, right? So maybe Delpit is able to try to match up against Mike Gesicki or one of those other receivers, Yoshivas. So, those are the areas where I think they have some advantages, but, it depends on a lot, man. It really depends on game plan and stuff like that. What would you say some of the pros that the Browns have in this game?
I think the Browns, we're going to see how this could go, but they do have the veteran offensive line of guys like Conklin that are now labeled injury prone, and Wyatt Tellers of the world, and Joe Batonios. I know that he did retire, said that he was waiting for them to make a move. He comes back with Joe Flacco comes back or something and says that is the move. So I'm a little bit confused on that one. But they do have more accomplished, even though that they're longer in the tooth. They do have more accomplished offensive linemen, I think, historically or achievements-wise, depending on how you look at it. I think Orlando Brown and Ted Karras are well versed in playing football as well too. But I don't think we'll get credit for that. But I do think that the Browns, if healthy, those guys are guys that can contribute and can move people. They're one of the heaviest offensive line units in the National Football League. I think that they had a history before with your boy, offensive coordinator. We were just talking about it earlier. Jesus. Offensive line coach.
Oh, Callahan.
Callahan. They know how to have a proficient run game. They got the new scat back, the kid Sampson, and some speed out there too. They won't have Judkins because whatever's going on with that situation isn't there.
Oh, is he going back to college? Because it was funny when they was laughing about us and our Shamar Stewart situation, but here we are, week one.
So I can see them, having success with that. One thing I will say is I've been telling people to hammer the T. Higgins situation because I think him on Newsome is a very bad matchup for Greg Newsome. But on the other hand, there are probably 3 corners that you can name in the National Football League that have consistently done an okay or good job against Jamar Chase. Denzel Ward is one of them. He allows them to do other things that a lot of these teams that think that they can beat the Bengals cannot. So Denzel Ward being out there, I think, has the power to try to limit Jamar Chase, the best wide receiver in football. Just was ranked number 4 on NFL's top 100 list, which kind of lets you know like where everybody else sees him in the National Football League. So it's really no way to stop him. You can only hope to contain him. But I think Denzel Ward is one of the better corners in the National Football League. I think Grant Delpit's coming off a pretty good season. So there are some things, and I love what they did in the draft with Carson Schlesinger. If I wasn't a Bengals fan, I really want to see him play. I don't care about him on Sunday. Like, I hope he falls on the ground and he's trashed the whole entire game. But from a draft prospecting, perspective, that was a guy that I was kind of leaning on. I wanted the Bengals to take a look at him. The rest is history. We drafted Knight, and we did our own thing. But they do have some things that I think can work out. They added some defensive line depth this all season as well too. Michael Hall, I don't believe is going to play either. I thought him next to Graham could pose maybe some problems. Him not playing is one of the few injuries that they do have, and like you talked about earlier, we have none. So I do see some things that I think the Browns can do. As much as I think the Browns are hot garbage, I do think that they would win over 6 games this season. I don't know if that's a hot take.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'm looking at too is one matchup that I really want to see in this game is actually the Browns wide receivers and their weapons versus the Bengals secondary. You talk about Jerry Jeudy coming off of a really good season last year, albeit that was with Jameis Winston. So you got that. You got Cedric Tillman. You got James Thrash. And then you got DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt, and Dax Hill. Maybe you throw Jordan Battle in there against Njoku or Stone, whichever way you see that. I think that that's a pretty solid kind of matchup for this Bengals secondary to actually go out and have some success. Because when you look at Jerry Jeudy, if you just double Jeudy, I don't know who else is really hurting you. Maybe Njoku, but you could have some Logan Wilson spelled with some safety over the top against him, and I think that you'll be fine. The Browns just don't have the horses at the wide receiver position.
Right.
And I think that if there is a weakness that people have talked about, if you're talking about the major media, a lot of people have questions about the Bengals secondary, but I think that there's more questions with this Brown support and pass catcher class that they have. And I think the Bengals might have the advantage. Look, I might be putting myself out there, but I like our corners and our safeties against this offense and the weapons that they have. How do you feel about our secondary in terms of how it looks against this Browns offense?
I think this is the perfect setup for the Bengals secondary from a confidence standpoint and also from an assessment standpoint. If you're the Bengals and you're someone like me that's a little bit on the fence about a DJ Turner, this is a game to say, okay, DJ Turner, you're on, I don't know, Cedric Tillman or somebody. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how they'll line that part up. I would like to think that they will put Cam Taylor-Britt primarily on Jerry Jeudy. I don't think that they'll play matchups. I think they'll probably play sides for the most part, but we'll see how that goes. I don't really know what Al Golden's going to do, but it's not like you're starting off. And I'm not saying it to say that I think that the Browns aren't capable of doing it, because Jerry Jeudy is a very capable wide receiver. It's like if you play fantasy football, you know that, right?
Thanks.
But I will say this: it's very different than if the Bengals had to come out there week one and we're going up against. You know what I'm saying? Like going up against like the Pack. I was going to say like the Rams or something. You got Devontae Adams on one side, Puka Nacua on the other side, and we got all this unknowns. I think it will tell us if DJ Turner can't cover Cedric Tillman, then Josh Newton come on in. If Dax Hill can't effectively blitz from the slot position, then we need to look for other different alternatives. Like it's a good game for us to get a lot of information from. I do think that the Bengals have the upper hand in terms of pure athletes, guys that are premium picks that I've been talking about that are there and they're ready to go. And I'm like, now Al Golden should be putting them in a position to utilize what they do the best. And I think that should be reflected in the depth chart. And I think the depth chart is there for a reason. I think that they set it up because they watched them all season, and I'm taking Al Golden's perspective with the, I'm a guy at home. They got the guys that they believed in, and that's how they formulated this depth chart. And now I'm very, very anxious to see, especially the secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals against a wide receiving corp that they should do pretty well on. And if they don't do really well on, they should not get abused, should not get 300 plus yards or any of that on. If they do, then the Bengals have serious problems.
Nah, I was just also looking because I saw somebody talking about Jeudy, and it's worth noting that Jeudy does play and spend a lot of his time in the slot. 56.72% slot rate in 2024. Dax Hill, Jerry Jeudy. I like my chances, bro. I like that matchup. I really like that matchup. And if you're talking about, splitting that with DJ Turner on the outside, Dax on the inside, I really like their chances, bro. I'm really not just blowing Homer's theme when it comes to that. The other thing is, we kind of talked about this earlier, even though I mentioned it as a pro for the Browns, that run game versus Oren Burks versus Demetrius Knight and Logan Wilson, I think that we could do something there, bro. Like Jerome Ford is not the most shiftiest running back there, and I think their best running back isn't available right now. So I think that that's a situation that's going to favor the Bengals. When it comes to this offensive line versus defensive line, I agree with you. That's what's going to really tell the tale of this game. But I'm really looking forward to DeJuan Jones versus Trey Hendrickson. Really waiting to see that. I know a lot of Bengals fans a few years ago, myself included, wanted DeJuan Jones. Now he gets Trey Hendrickson. He's now playing left tackle, I believe, instead of right tackle. So that should be interesting. Joseph Asai versus Conklin, BJ Hill versus Wyatt Teller, TJ Slayton versus Posick and Bitonio. Like this game in the trenches, how do you see that playing out? Can't hear you.
From the offensive side of the ball.
Just in the trenches. How do you see this Bengals defensive line, Browns offensive line? How do you see that playing itself?
I want to start with the Bengals defensive line. I think the Bengals defensive line is very, 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 very underrated in this matchup. I think Chris Jenkins and Slayton and BJ Hill in the interior of this defensive line will be able to stop the Browns run game or whatever the Browns want to do run-wise, right? In addition to that, I think guys like Slayton and BJ Hill can put pressure on you in short yardage situations. I think Slayton gets his hands up. Another thing is, too, if you're a team playing the Bengals this season, maybe the Bengals don't have a lot of sacks, but the athleticism up front with guys like Myles Murphy and Shamar Stewart getting their hands up, and then the motor of Osai afterwards, I think is very, very, very underrated. Chris Jenkins played last year with an injury throughout the whole season. He's healthy. You got BJ Hill that played injured and he came back off an injury. He's healthy. All of the guys that last year that everybody totally dismisses because we're Bengals fans, those guys are healthy now. And I thought last year the defensive line starting off was so messed up, and I thought the front office did such a disservice not to fill in those blanks. When they went and got Sheldon Rankins, it was looked at as a pretty good pickup. It wasn't excellent, wasn't whatever. But when the injuries started to pile up with McKinley and all these other guys, I thought it was really messed up that they never gave us anybody to fill in those spots. This season, grabbing guys like Mike Pennell, all these other guys that they've now stacked up that position group with, now McKinley Jacksons of the world are now fighting for roster spots. I think that's the beginning of it. The second thing is this. A guy that's not mobile like Joe Flacco, he's going to have to get to the quick game, something that I don't know that he wants to do. Joe Flacco was and has been a gunslinger that doesn't perform well in cover two. If they get him in second and distance, third and distance, I just don't think he has enough mobility to get away from that athleticism that we have up front. And it might not be a lot of sacks, but I think a guy that's not mobile is going to have a hard time getting on his platform to throw the ball that he wants to. And Shamar Stewart, I'm not the only one that said this. I think Dan Horde said this too. I've noticed at practices, bro, he gets like 2-3 batted passes every single practice. I think he'll be at the top of the leaderboard in batted passes. When we look at this at the end of the season, if he doesn't get sacks, he's going to get batted passes and pressures. And he's also going to have a gang of tackles for losses because he's very, very different when he lines up in front of guys that are older and slower, like we just talked about with the Browns offensive line. As much as I gave them credit for being veterans and guys that have been doing it really well, this is the reason why older guys in their 30s retire from the NFL is when they see a young 22, 23-year-old dude with a crazy athleticism that's just different. I think Shamar Stewart is going to pose a lot of problems. If they get in the third and distance and the Bengals have a lead, it could be nasty at that point. And that's where I think the defensive line and I think the game plan for the Bengals should be all season. Get yourself somewhat of a lead, come out like I'm talking about guns up blazing, like air it out. The old Zim saying like, bro, we need to establish a run. It's too many weapons out there now. Like, I need Noah Fant to get 2-3 targets. I need Gesicki to get 2-3. Like, bro, I'm coming out there, even if it's short game, we're getting the ball out. Boom, boom, boom. We're moving around and getting down the field, putting points on the board. Once you do that, you're now dictating to the other team, like, it's up to you to score. And if I get you in third and distance with all of those dudes, the one person that I didn't name is Trey Hendrickson come around that corner. And that's something that nobody wants to have a conversation with the Bengals about. They'll talk to you about, oh, what about the defense? What about the defense? How about Trey Hendrickson has more sacks than anybody in the NFL in the last 2 years of football, top 3 in the last 4 years of football. This is one of the best pass rushers in all of football. You can say whatever you want about the defense. Do not get behind on the scoreboard with Trey Hendrickson coming around that corner. I'm telling everybody this whole entire season, this dude is playing on a mission. Remember, we had a whole episode. If he plays If he gets 12 plus, 13 plus sacks, the Bengals are going to give him a $35 million guaranteed tag and try to negotiate whatever. This dude is basically playing for a whole nother $35 million guaranteed, angry, pissed that the Bengals didn't give him a long-term guarantees. This dude is coming around the corner to kill people like he's been doing for the last 2 years. And to me, I don't care who that's against.
Yeah, do you think it's a mistake that Shamar Stewart isn't starting this game?
I wouldn't pay attention to that much. I think that Shamar Stewart and guys like that will get rotated in there. I don't think that Miles Murphy and company have shown enough and will be doing enough. I think everybody has a role. Miles Murphy on those first and tens, he needs to be out there because he's probably one of our best run defenders. So then after that, you might get in the second, third down. We could kick Shamar Stewart inside. It might be BJ Hill might be on fire. Chris Jenkins might be getting pressures. I wouldn't pay attention to the depth chart too much, bro. I really feel like it's going to be just like our offense. From week to week, there's going to be different game plans set in place. I think each level, as I've been reading all this stuff, linebackers, defensive line, cornerbacks, they have their own calls, their own groups. And depending on who the matchup is, you might see Shamar Stewart 20-plus snaps this week. You might see Shamar Stewart in a game where it's more run heavy or whatever, and maybe we got to get more big boys out there. Maybe you might see him 17-plus sacks. But I do think that they're going to rotate them guys. They're deep enough at the position group to rotate them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, depending on how the game goes is going to really determine what the snaps look like. Flipping that, though. Bengals offensive line versus Myles Garrett. I'm going to just say Myles Garrett. Mason Graham is obviously there. Malik Collins. They got Tryon that was a free agent from Tampa Bay. Orlando Brown Jr. versus Myles. They're going to move Myles around. We've seen that happen. Marius Mims had success against them. The Bengals didn't really get killed by Myles Garrett last year. What is their plan against this front? I think essentially you got to let Orlando and Mims, I think they're big enough to go one-on-one, right? I always used to say, hey, you need to also chip Myles Garrett. I'm not so sure that you need to in this situation because those guys have proven themselves that they can be on an island with Myles Garrett and do something. Now, the one thing that I worry about is them trying to put Myles Garrett up against a Fairchild, against a Lucas Patrick. That's something where they can really try to abuse that situation to get Myles pressure from the inside. And that we've talked with Willie Anderson. That's the worst place that pressure can come from. So I wonder how they hold up against that. I'm anxious to see how Fairchild does against Graham, right? Two rookies going at it. I really feel good about Fairchild. I'm not really too worried. I am somewhat worried about the Lucas Patrick starting, right? We all know what I infamously said about Lucas Patrick. For me, if this is a game,
no, what did you say? I don't remember. What did you say about Lucas Patrick?
If this is a game where Lucas Patrick is the exploit, I think you automatically have to go to Dalton Risner. I don't think you have to waste any time. We'll see. Obviously, Risner has to get sped up with everything, but that is the only part of the line that I worry about is really the interior and how that's going to hold up because they will try to put Myles Garrett there. A lot of people love Graham. I'm hearing a lot of stuff from Cleveland. They talking about some kind of practice where they had them in camp with the Eagles. And I'm like, bro, if that's all you're talking about with this dude, I got to see it week one, bro. I really got to see it. I can't go off of a joint practice, you raving about how somebody did with shorts on against another team, against the Super Bowl champions. Yeah, you got to line it up for me before I'm giving Graham any kind of praise or anything like that. So, I know he's going to be out there, but we have to see what he is. And at this point, he's still a rookie. When I look at the secondary, but before I get into the secondary, what are your thoughts on Bengals offensive line versus Browns defensive line?
One thing that just stood out to me, and it's so crazy, that everybody talks about the Bengals defense, and I think as Bengals content creators and who we are, we try to keep it as real as possible, and we'll be the first ones to tell you that these guys are unproven on the Bengals, right? Don't you find it kind of funny that the world has like so much empathy for like all these other teams, and they'll gladly advance them into like, yeah, this guy's good. Like Mason Graham has never played an NFL snap, but yet we're sitting there with guys like BJ Hills that have proven it in big games, like AFC championship games. But we're trying to prove to people like this guy can ball, bro. Like I'm telling you, BJ Hill, he's solid, bro. Versus a guy like Mason Graham that's never even played. You know what I mean? So so my enthusiasm for Shamar Stewart is also unproven, right? But I'm just going by what I've seen. I just think it's kind of crazy that a lot of these guys will get penciled in as like, oh yeah, that guy's good, and they haven't done anything yet. And if Myles Garrett wants to come over to the side with Lucas Patrick, then I think Teddy K will gladly come over, and then they'll just run duo on them. And I think they'll stay away from him. I think Joe Burrow's one of the best pre-snap processors in all of football. And if he sees something that he can exploit and Myles Garrett wants to move over there, then we'll just go to the other side and we'll go do what we're going to do because we respect them. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't think that these teams are respecting the Bengals. And all of that talk that they're saying, all those weapons, the one thing that stood out to me, like all the weapons they don't want to talk about, one thing that stood out to me in preseason on all those Joe Burrow dropbacks, I know that Lucas Patrick's, and I played you the replay and I sent you this too. As bad as we think that Lucas Patrick was in a lot of this stuff, or he had that bad rep where he puts his hands up and stuff, that's in a play that's broken down. For most of the game, he looked really damn good in that game. Now, the caveat to that is he's not playing against number ones. He wasn't playing against the best of the best. I think the Bengals, for once, generally, we've been rolling out La'el Collins. We've been rolling out Riley Reed. We've been rolling out Xavier Su'a-Filo. We've been rolling out Trent Brown, right? Just an older guy that we're like, yeah, that guy, you know, like he's been doing it. For once, they're trusting the process of what Peters was in camp. They said, Lucas Patrick, we brought you in here. He played damn near the whole damn all season. And that's the guy that we're going to go with. And for once, we now got a guy that has been chomping, that has been killing it in the NFL, you know, is chomping at the bit to be like, yeah, get me in there too. Get me in there. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a good problem to have, bro. Like, to me, it's the same conversation that I led with at the beginning of this thing. It's like, I'd rather see the cornerbacks for the Bengals go up against the Browns wide receiver than to go see them go up against A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith right now, right? So if we're going to find out about Lucas Patrick, we need to find out in games against, can he stand up against, I don't know, one of them, Tryon or one of these other dudes that they're running? Can he stand up against any of those guys? And then if Myles Garrett is in it, is he going to communicate on the stunts? Is he going, you know, like little small things like that, they're going to put his feet to the fire and see what happens. And if he ain't what we saying he is, Joe Burrow will check out of it accordingly. We'll slide in protection. We'll go 12. We'll go 13 if we want to. We got sample. We got fan. We'll do everything that you think that you got to answer for. Joe Burrow has 1,000 answers for. So I'm not really tripping over that part. It's just all about like we have to adjust to those things. And then if Lucas Patrick is who you said he was before, then by the time we get to week 2,
I hope he's not.
Yeah, right. Right. So we're all Lucas Patrick's fans now. But if he ends up not being good, I don't care now because Dalton Reisner, hey, you're up. Now we're rising up with him. So it's like, to me, everything, and that's what I was tweeting about the other day, is like all the things that the Bengals looked at as like we're not that strong at, we're going to add depth to these pieces. We're going to make everything straight outside of safety, right? We're going to go and fill in all of these voids. And I think that this is a really good start, and this is a good test for him. And the one thing that I was going to say that stood out to me is those pockets that Joe had in those series. Remember, Joe Burrow, you can go look this up on Warren Sharp Analytics. Shout out to Warren Sharp. He came on the show, had a really good time on that one. Go check that one out. But he also posted Joe Burrow was the #1 preseason quarterback. And the reason for that, to me, when you go back and watch those games in preseason, the pockets look nice. The plays that broke down that Joe Burrow was trying to loop-de-loo and do all that stuff, I didn't like that stuff in preseason. Those are on Joe to me. When he was set to go in the pocket, I posted a throw with him earlier today. With him throwing that throw to Charlie Jones in the back of the end zone, the pocket is amazing. So, like, to me, I think that the Bengals continue that, and I think that they look really good. 2022, I thought the pockets were good for most of the year up until the offensive line got hurt at the end. This offensive line, to me, is better.
Yeah, man. I gotta end it with the Bengals receivers versus the Browns secondary. I mean, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Yoshi, Gasecki. Advantage Bengals, bro. Like I'm sorry. Like I don't see any. Like I don't care who's in your secondary. Like I don't see anybody being able to really slow these guys down. This is now a situation too where Denzel Ward. I don't think he's gonna be able to just be on Jamar Chase all game. He's gonna have to like if Pat Surtain can't do that. How is Denzel Ward going to do that? He's not. He's gonna have to be on both of them. And I think the thing that gets overlooked in this whole situation is we always hear about Denzel Ward on Jamar Chase, right? What about Denzel Ward on T. Higgins? Because T. Higgins has had success against Denzel Ward, especially as a rookie and things of that nature. Like a lot of people don't really talk about that. They always talk about Jamar and Denzel Ward, and obviously we respect Denzel Ward, but like T. Higgins is a completely different body type. Like to have to guard against one dude that's built like a running back and is the yak king of the NFL and can take it to the house every time, and then have to turn around and have to play with, you know, a baby Randy Moss, AJ Green type dude and T. Higgins that at any point can just jump over your head and moss you for a touchdown. Good luck. Greg Newsome, like you said, like Greg Newsome is going to have his hands full. Pause. Like between any of these receivers that they had there, he's going to be in trouble. Cam Mitchell is your third corner. Okay. Jamar Chase might be in the slot. Is he going to be on him? Like, I think that Cleveland is in trouble here when it comes to their secondary. Like, I think they've had some confidence from years past. But if you looked at the more recent games, Jamar Chase hasn't struggled. Our receivers haven't struggled. And Yoshi is a guy that I'm looking at that could be an X factor. I think Gasecki could be an X factor because those are the guys that you're not going to be expecting big games from. I think that when they go into this, their defensive coordinator right now is talking about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Well, guess what? Yoshi and Gasecki can kill you. And I think that they will have some pretty good games. Don't sleep on Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown in the passing game is going to be something major as well. And then you just talk about Joe Burrow, and I'm just like, all right, bro, I get that y'all feel like y'all secondary is like that, but historically, you guys like to play a lot of man-to-man, and you like to put pressure with your front four and do all of that. We want people to play man-to-man. So if that's what the strategy is, I like the Bengals, bro. I like the Bengals. I like us against any secondary this year. It ain't one secondary that you can put up there that will make me back down and be like, I don't know. Remember when they was talking about Riley Moss? What did T. Higgins do to him? Remember when they were talking about Marlon Humphrey? What did Jamar Chase do to him? Like, we're not scared of any of these dudes out there with any secondaries out there. Respect the Denzel Ward. Tip my hat to him. If I got Jamar Chase on you one-on-one, I'm still throwing the ball. Like, you're not scaring me. None of these guys across from me in Cleveland or in the NFL scare me with any of these guys. We're going to play our game. We're going to be who we are, and we're going to dictate what's going to happen. Like, you're not going to dictate to us whether or not we throw to our receivers. Like, this is the Bengals. This is the Migos. This is the new Migos. This is the new wave. This is what it was in 2021. We dictate to you what time it is, especially with all of these weapons. So I give that advantage to the Bengals. What are your thoughts on the Bengals weapons versus the Cleveland secondary?
Hard to follow that up. That's exactly, I mean, like cooking. Like, it blows my mind how so many people, I don't know if it's like a coping mechanism for like outside fans or something, but it blows my mind. Every single year in football, you're watching the top offenses in football be in the Final Four, Final Six in the NFL. It's generally not the number one defense, right? It's generally the highest scoring teams are there at the end. Now, they don't have the worst 30th ranked defense, but when you think about when you're about to play somebody, the number one thing you're thinking is about, I don't want to get blown out. I don't want to get points on them. I don't want this corner to get cooked. You're thinking about that primarily from offensive teams. So I just find it really crazy that then when the conversation now comes up about like football, which is marketed through offense, right? Defense wins championships is grandpa told me that. And moniker that is true, right? But that's not the way NFL is marketed. We play fantasy football based off of scoring and points. We talk when we were, on the internet and spaces and all we're talking about offensive outputs, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Now all of a sudden nobody wants to talk offense. I just think that it is the wildest thing. They told us that we weren't going to sign any of these guys, and now all of a sudden, oh, what about your defense? The people that say that, they never come on the internet and talk about defense. Now all of a sudden you want to talk about defense? Yeah. I just think it's crazy. Like I was saying earlier, Chase Brown coming out the backfield. With on both sides, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, who have been doubled up for the last 3 years of football. Doubled up on both sides. So you've been allocating a safety and a cornerback to both sides. You now got Chase Brown coming out of the backfield. You got Mike Gesicki, who almost had 800, 900 yards or whatever last year itself. Now paired up with one of the most athletic tight ends of all time with Noah Fant, who has blocking abilities. So now the red zone package is enhanced. Yoshivas, who has 7 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, or I'm sorry, like 7 to 10 touchdowns or something. Somebody in the chat get me right. That's more touchdowns than most teams' wide receiver ones. That's the wide receiver 3, maybe the 4th option on the team. Maybe the 5th if you really factor in Chase Brown. And then we didn't even get into Burton. You still got guys that can help you in the run game like Sample and all these other guys like that. And P-Ryans of the world that also can catch and is also one of the best blocking running backs in the NFL. The offense is so loaded. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that Bengals fans don't want to talk about the offense. Like, I don't even care what they want to talk about. Bengals fans should be talking about the offense. They told us that we weren't going to sign all those dudes. We signed all them dudes. Now we're going to talk about them dudes. We're not going to walk away from that conversation at no point. And they don't want me to say that because they want you to focus on something that they deem as a weakness. We don't care about that. We are talking about the Bengals offense this whole season. They're going to put 30 and 40 points and maybe 50 on somebody this season if you play around with us. So you goddamn right, I'm going to talk about that offense. And every single week, what you just said about the Browns, it's anybody. There is no secondary that the Bengals will walk into because they made their team where it's so multiple that if you do have really good corners, I need to see your CB3. I now need to see can your linebacker cover in the flats. I now need to see can your linebacker cover Noah Fant or Gesicki in the seam. I now need to see can your safety come up and make tackles in open space against Chase Brown. You see what I'm saying? It's just like it's too much. It's too much, bro. Like straight up, it's just like if I'm another team, I'm gonna be dead honest with you. If I'm another team, I don't want to play that. That's what I don't want to play. I could look at a Jets team, a Steelers team, somebody with a real good defense, and I'll be like, man, we can get into a slug match. It's gonna be a low-scoring game. Maybe we can pull it out, right? Mm-hmm. But the one thing you don't want to do is play a team with that. They like, especially not in a. We're not there yet. I was gonna say playoffs. We're not there yet. But I just that's what you don't want to see. To me, that's what you wouldn't want to play. And everybody can talk about the defense, but let the Bengals get a lead with Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart and all them dudes coming around. They're like, if they make it simple for them and they give them third and distance and you down 7 to 10 points, you in the third quarter and you trying to throw the football with a pedestrian quarterback, I don't think that defensive conversation that people are trying to have is going to go the way that they think it is.
Nah, speaking of things going the way that we think that it is, let's toss it to our sponsors over at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them high honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them high honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. And much love to Mama T, Uno and CTB. MB's got Bengals wings, and now we just added T's. 9 to 5 winning things. Gritty for Uno wings. We say yes, Sirski now. Like Aces and be saying that T got them new wings. Only at MB's. Honey lemon peppers. Now you can call them T.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. The season is back. Midwest ain't never left. But if you are planning to watch the game this weekend, make sure you stop in and get some wings, get some of them teas, get some of them Dillinators, get some of them Uno wings. Don't forget the Unos. They got the Unos too, the Grippos. I mean, there's no place that I would rather have Sunday food unless it was Midwest Best Barbecue. They got the sliders, they got it all. Check them out. They got the sides, the Arnold Palmers, and they're going to probably be showing the game. So make sure you pull up and let them know Ace and them sent you. There's no better place to watch the game from and no better food to have than Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Let them know that once again that Ace and them sent you. Zim, before we get out of here, were there any super chats that we needed to read or anything that we needed to say to the people before we get out of here?
I think it's a bunch of super chats, actually. Did you read the Fuzzy?
No, I didn't see. Fuzzy said T has never had 100 receiving yards in week 1. This is the perfect opportunity to change that.
Absolutely, I agree. I have a great T Higgins stat for you. If you're a bettor or if you really, really want to believe in the Bengals or something, I have it's a couple of different stats I just want to read off really quick. I'm going to pull it up in a second. You could go to the next one.
Okay, I'll go to the next super chat. We got one from Brucey B, $4.99. Bold prediction. T gets the Triple Crown this season. That would be crazy.
That is nuts. I will say this. In the offseason, T did talk about his versatility, him playing more in the slot. Game like this, remember, we talked about matchups. Martin Emerson, on paper, would be a better matchup because of the height, the strength. He's hurt for the season. So now you have guys like Greg Newsome and company now trying to check him along with all the other guys. Man, I'm excited. Hey, dog, I'm telling you right now, if they all drop like 30, that's what I wanted to ask you. Let's go into this, though. P. Crawley says, Hart says 40, right? Hart says 41-17 Bengals. Head says 23-20. It's Wincinnati either way. Line it up. Who they? Line that up. Who they?
For sure, man. Line it up, bro. I think this year I'm not doing the predictions, bro. I'm not doing like the predictions. I'm not mad at it at all.
I got a good question for you though. Off of that, let me ask you this:
What's up?
Are you disappointed if the Bengals just win by 3 points?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
But honestly, like in the grand scheme of things, because a win is a win, especially against a divisional opponent. So don't get it twisted. It's still an important win, but nah, we need to make a statement, bro. I need at least at least like 7 to 10 point margin of victory in this one. They gotta because that would be them not doing what Vegas expects them to do, right? They're supposed to at least win by 5. So nah, bro, I need this to be a statement. I don't need it to be like we're setting the world on fire week 1. Because I mean, you could do that, but it's week 1, right? Like people are gonna like that, but they're still gonna be like, all right. But I need it to be an emphatic W. Like I need it to be like, yeah, we here now. Right. Like this is Joe Flacco versus Joe Burrow. It's not supposed to be that close.
I don't need it in week 1. I don't. Like I'm a lot like P. Crawley. My heart is like you, but blocking out what anybody thinks at the end of this thing, when we get to week 17 and we're talking about playoff seeding and stuff like that, we are not going to care about what was the margin of victory in week 1. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. If we walk out of here with a dub, we'll come back on the show. We will do a show afterwards. Please make sure you all subscribe, cut on alerts. Wincinnati will go live after the show, after the game, probably about 30 to 45 minutes after the game. And then also for a bonus, you'll also get Bengals Pulse going right after that as well, too. So you'll get a pregame with Bengals Pulse before the game if you're really, really Bengaled out. And then you'll get 2 after shows on this week, too. So if you're looking for Bengals content and looking for everything Bengals, stay right here on the Wincinnati channel. Send this to everyone that you know. Get our live reactions after the game. Get last-minute recaps and everything like that with Bengals Pulse before the show as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been the Wincinnati Podcast. We will see you guys Sunday. Who they?
Hey, let's go!
On the Wincinnati Podcast.
Hello, world. Wincinnati. You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.